Estamos viviendo tiempos complicados, no solamente en México, sino en todo el mundo. Podemos ver lo que sucede en el Medio Oriente, podemos ver también la violencia con la que vive este mundo en distintos lugares. Por eso a veces tenemos que sentarnos a reflexionar de fondo qué queremos ser, qué significa ser humanos. Y yo quiero darle la bienvenida a este programa a un filósofo que yo admiro, es Rob Riemen. Él es ensayista, fundador, presidente de Nexus Institute, es autor de varios libros, está en México para presentar este libro que tengo aquí conmigo, que se llama El arte de ser humanos. Sí, el arte de ser humanos. Vamos a hacer esta conversación en inglés para que usted pueda escuchar directamente a Rob Riemen y sus ideas. The art of being human. Does it take an art to be human? Have we lost our humanity along the way?
I'm afraid that the answer is yes. And if you want to be convinced that we lost our humanity all the way, just look at the news or the newspaper.
When I look at them these days, I'm always horrified. It's not just the crimes, it's just the way crimes are committed, the inhumanity of some societies. It's amazing.
And it's not only, you know, the wars and the violence and the destruction at too many places, and now most recently in Israel, but also the Ukraine. I mean, we know those places. But it's also the sense of, that people almost try to, are acting, as robots. They lost their personality. They just do what they are told to do, and so they. In principle, we lost a lot of quality of life. That also, I think, relates to the fact that quantity has become such an important thing. In a certain way, we're all reduced to numbers, and the only thing we are looking at is numbers.
Have we lost this ability of this happiness, or we're actually just living the way we have always lived, but we are more televised in a way?
Well, look, my book, if Whitehead was right, that yes. All philosophy is a footnote to Plato, then my book is a footnote to all those footnotes, right? Okay. So the art of being human is as old as mankind, the question. It is an obligation to become a human being. The thing is that we are now living in a time in which in a certain way, we are so much better off than 100 years ago. Yes. We have the technology, we have the science, we have all these things, and at the same time, as you just said, quite correctly, we have lost the art of becoming human, because we are focused on the wrong things, and with it, the political, social consequences.
You talk about the nobility of spirit. What is the nobility of spirit?
Well, the nobility of spirit for me is an expression which was given to me by my intellectual hero Thomas Mann, who got it from Spinoza and many others. And nobility of spirit is the essence of being a human. That is to say, when do you know that you have acquired to the art of being human? When you have this capacity to live your life in dignity, which means that you have been able to internalize yourself the highest moral and spiritual values to live in truth, to do justice, to create beauty, to be a good human being. And with it, have an idea of what a good society is supposed to be. And so that is what the nobility of spirit is all about. It's the recognition of the fact that we have a double nature. We are like animals, because we have our instincts, we need food, etc., etc. But we do have the spiritual nature as well. We know about truth, we know about love, we know about friendship, we know about peace, we know about freedom. And that's what nobility of spirit is all about.
Well, as you said, your work is a footnote to a footnote of Plato. Tell us a little bit about Plato, this vision he had of an ideal world, a world of ideas, and this idea that we are living in a cave, and for us to actually progress as human beings, we have to get out of the cave and get in contact with the ideas themselves.
So Plato was this Greek philosopher who lived 2,400 years ago. He gave us the conversations with Socrates, his teacher, was
dialogues,
having. The dialogues. And it's quite amazing that we still can read in a perfect way these works written 2,400 years ago. Now, what is it that Socrates, his teacher, told him? Socrates told him, look, we philosophers, we can think about the most difficult abstract things, but let's focus on two very fundamental questions. Now, what is the right way to live? And what is a good society? And these questions are equal, because if you can find the answer to the first question, you'll probably find an answer to the second question, and vice versa. Then Socrates said, well, we are dealing with an issue. And the issue is that too many people, as you just so rightly said, are living in a cave. What did he mean with it? He meant with it that in a cave, those people who are there consider something as a reality, which is not the real world. It is not a focus on the things, on the values and the virtues that really matter in life.
We're looking at shadows that are a mere reflection of what's happening in the real world.
Now, what is nowadays cave? It's the cave created by the social media. The social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, through the algorithms, put you in your own cave, because the algorithms will tell you, okay, Rob, Sergio, if you're interested in X, Y, Z, you probably are also interested in X, Y, Z, and it's all the same. If you want to understand why in the United States of America there are so many conspiracy theories, why millions of Republicans still think that Joe Biden has stolen the elections, it's because they're living in their own cave, in their own reality, and you can do as much as you want on fact-checking, it will not affect those people. So, again, to get out of the cave, the idea is let everybody develop their own capacities to be a thinking human being with their own intellectual and critical capacities to be able to make the distinctions between what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is evil, what is true and what is false.
Your book is divided into 4 studies, and in one of them you talk about war, and then you write a letter to your students about war as learning. Tell us about it.
Well, and the students are here in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
The Mexican students who, during the pandemic, wrote me about my first book, which they're reading, and all the big questions about life in the society in which we are. And at that time, I realized that although I was, so nice to answer their questions, that in a certain way I made a mistake, because Nietzsche told me when I was reading him that, look. Those questions of those young people, they have to find an answer themselves. It should not be me they are listening to. And then I told them the story about my mother, who passed away 23 years ago, and who was for me the incarnation of becoming humanist in art. But I never knew about her youth. I never knew about the years which were so tremendously important for her life, which are the years of her youth that she was in a Japanese prisoners camp during the war.
During the Second World War, yeah.
And everybody in the Netherlands knows that those people never talked about it. So
your mother was in Indonesia, if I remember.
She was in Indonesia.
And that was captured by the Japanese.
Yeah, during the World War II. So I then tell the story that I could meet 2 of her sisters. Unfortunately, already one died, but there was one still alive, who told me what happened to them in the war. What is important about this story is that when you're facing the ultimate questions of life, that you can die, that you're dealing with fear all the time, that you're dealing with hunger all the time, that after such an experience, you start to question, so indeed, what is a good life and what is a good society? And so my mother, who had to work in factories, then met my father, who was a union leader. So, with people with a very humble labor background, wanted to teach us about what life is all about, that life is full of difficulties, tragedies, but what are the things you have to learn to make your own life meaningful?
How did you become a philosopher?
Well, I think that, my dear friend Sergio, you are also a philosopher. I think that everybody...
I studied philosophy. That doesn't make me a philosopher.
No, but then the same is true for me. No, I honestly think that Plato, who was very generous, told us that everybody who can be a philosopher when you do 2 things. First of all, when you live your life in amazement. Hey. And then the second is that you ask questions. Asking questions is so crucial. When people stop asking questions...
That's what Socrates did all the time.
And only listen or obey, then you get into difficulties. But as long as we have a society in which people have take the freedom to ask questions all the time, ask difficult questions, ask critical questions. Those people are by nature the people who love wisdom, because that's what philosophy is all about. The love for wisdom, the quest for wisdom. So you do not necessarily have to go to an academy or to a university to study it. Mm-hmm. You know, it would be a wonderful thing to read Plato again, but just asking the question and have this eagerness to acquire a certain wisdom about life. That's it.
Have we lost compassion as human beings? Have we lost empathy, for our fellow human beings?
Well, fortunately, many people not. Okay. But the general concept of our society, and this is one of the critiques of my book, including in the second etude, which is devoted to the stupidity and lies, which have in fact, is that the world of powers have made us believe that the essence of life is to be useful and successful. Mm-hmm. And your usefulness is related to your successfulness, and your successfulness is related to how much money you make. That's it. And the best way to make a lot of money is just to adapt yourself to the society as it is. At the very moment you do something like this, you're losing, your own independence, you're losing the nobility of spirit, because mm-hmm. Yes, we always need, some money to go through life, but it's not the essence of life. So as long as this paradigm is in charge, the paradigm, as I just said, in which quality and the quality of life is replaced by the idolatry of numbers, then we have a problem. Again, fortunately, there are still enough people, or there are still people who do not, but they are the outsiders. The general paradigm, what the world wants us to believe, what they want young children to believe, is be useful, be successful, go to Harvard, get that stupid education you get over there, and go to Wall Street.
There are two goals for a philosopher, I think. You can try to learn things and then you ask questions, but you can try to be happy. Mm-hmm. Are you happy?
It depends on what you mean with happy, but okay. We will not go into this philosophical discussion now. Yes, in general, I'm a very happy person.
Are you an optimist about the future of humankind?
Yeah, well, two things. First of all, if you can translate happiness into the sense of that you think that what you're doing is meaningful, irrespective of all the troubles you have to face in life, because troubles are always there, I'm an extremely happy person, because I'm privileged that I can do the things I truly believe in. Am I an optimist? Yes, for two reasons. First of all, there is no energy in pessimism. So, as I said, more or less as a joke, if I would be pessimist, I would become a banker and very rich. You do not need much intelligence to be a banker, and you become very rich with money. And you just make a lot of money. No, but we have a moral obligation to be optimistic, because this world has to change. If we want to keep alive our ideal of civilization, and the ideal of civilization is the complete opposite of all the violence and the destruction we are facing now. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is when you have certain capacities and possibilities, as the two of us are having, it's our obligation to be optimistic and to tell people, look, there is an alternative world.
Rob Riemen, thank you very much for this conversation, for having invited us to read El arte de ser humanos, the art of being humans. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for having me.
Y a usted, amigo, que al vernos y escucharnos hace posible este programa, se lo agradezco también. Esto es todo por hoy, pero no se lo olvide. Nos vemos la próxima.